It's Thursday. Maycember Thursday. I think my glasses are... Oh, maybe is it my glasses or my camera? Everything looks fuzzy. It might be because I've been literally editing. Oh, no, I really can't see. Editing my book that I'm writing for 3 days straight. Yes, I'm in my pajamas. I've been in them all day. I put on a sweatshirt and it's ready to roll. Make a little tea here. Hang on. Let me start these things at the wrong time. I got a text today, and so I'm hesitant when you are the mother of a child with a disability, particularly when you are somebody like me and you're over here on the Facebook chit-chatting it up, talking about all the things, right? I try to be careful with how I say things. Not necessarily, obviously not really careful, but careful enough. And one area that makes me, that gives me pause is when people will ask me, now, when did Amos start talking? You know, and I will say, because it's part of my story, when he was 1.5, I wondered if he would ever walk. I remember the pediatrician saying to me, Nita Coleman, he is going to walk. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if he is or not. And when it came to language, you know, at first it was like, oh, he's going to catch up. He's fine. You kind of, maybe I just was like, had Munchausen or something. And then people stopped promising that he was going to be fine and stopped promising that he was going to talk. And I wrote, like, what if he never has words, you know, and what does that mean? And it has to be okay, right? Because that's who he was. And my story, his story, our story is still unfolding and being written. And just because our story happens a certain way doesn't mean that your story is going to happen that way, or your story might happen a totally different way. And I think it's really important, and I'm not articulating it well, to clarify that, because I think if you're from the generation ahead of me, my mom's generation, her generation is the one, and they mean well with it, but they'll be like, no, my mother doesn't do this. But I've heard people say this. Now, I know somebody, like when Amos was little, and their son had autism, and now he's in medical school. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure you just watched The Good Doctor and like interpreted it as a real experience. And so anyway, I don't ever want somebody to use my story to say to a new mother, hey, Adrian's son, Amos, he didn't talk at 3. And look at here. Here is where he is. Oh, God, the spammers. I'm about to ban you, you turd. Amanda, whoever you are, forever. Goodbye. Why is it? Why are these spammers here? It's like they're trying to ruin my life. Hang on. I need some tea. Ugh. Tea. You wish I would give a couple minutes for people to hop on before starting the topic. Well, that's probably good advice. I hadn't thought about that. One problem is, though, if I don't talk, nobody will stay on. So y'all might just have to be, I gave you subscribers a heads up that I was coming on. carry on. Amos, at 3 years old, I dropped him off at school. He had on a jumper and a diaper and little buckled shoes, and I just cried when I left him. He was in an exceptional children's classroom, which I knew was a good spot for him, but I still, the future felt big and scary. And then as time goes on, if you have a child with a disability, you would know these things, like you have IEP meetings and you have all these things, and at the end of every meeting there's this really annoying question that somebody in the federal government, if I were president, I would change this, has tossed on the thing, and it says, what are your dreams for your child? Well, that is like, that is the most like vulnerable asking question. Like, that question should never be on a school assessment. Like, that is it's a very personal question, right? Like, I can tell you, oh, I weigh 172 pounds. I hadn't had a period for 8 months. I'm in perimenopause. Like, I can blah, 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 tell all those things. But when it comes to that, look, Heather just said in Florida they don't ask. Well, that might be worse, Heather. So maybe I'm wrong. That might piss me off even more. Hold on. Honey. And if anyone mentions me having this honey, you know what I'm going to do to you? I'm going to ban you, just like that little turd bucket from the Nigerian cafe that was just on. I'm probably giving myself too much. Your dreams are Liam's dreams. Well, that's nice, but I don't know what Amos's dreams are. Well, I do know a couple of Amos's dreams. Amos, this morning on the way to school, said, so the little person that didn't talk does talk now, and he can tell you all sorts of things. His voice doesn't, he talks real stilted. Like, have you heard of, kind of almost like a robot. So this morning he said, see, I have to write down everything he says or I forget. Seychelles is an African island. And I said, oh yeah, Seychelles is a place in Africa. And I said, would you like to go there? He said, yes. And I was thinking, Amos and I know what Amos wants to do. He likes to travel. Well, then the next thing he says is Seychelles Airlines is, an African transport company or whatever. And I was like, that turd, he doesn't even care. You'd go all the way to Seychelles, and then he'd be like, is it called Seychelles? I think I'm saying it wrong. Seychelles. That's how it's spelled. I'm real good at spelling things because I'm a reader, but when it comes to pronunciation, my husband will be like, what did you just say? I'm like, well, I don't know. I read it. That's how it's spelled. Yeah, I need a little more milk. This is a treat. I went from like smoking and drinking beer to having hot tea and treating myself to honey and milk. That is a very rude question to ask. Well, it's on the back of a federal document, so I would agree with you, but I don't make the rules, which is unfortunate. Oh, my shirt is from a girl. She has a company called Little Rebels with a Cause. Raise Them Kind. And she has the best stuff. Anyway. He goes to school, and a couple years ago, we were in an IP meeting, and there was this thing that somebody said, do you, it was like a question about not extended school year, basically like alternative education, right? And so Amos is on kind of this traditional trajectory right now, but there's another trajectory that some people go on, or you might go on, or your kids might go on, where you where you don't do testing, right? You kind of pick it's a different path. And basically what that path is that you're not on the path to graduate, right? Record him. I did. So anyway, and I was like, do you think, are we there? Like, I don't want to give up. Like, here's this person to me that's so smart. And everybody has a gift, right? In some way. And it doesn't matter if you're smart or not smart, right? But we started second grade. He started in a second grade classroom. Sorry, I struggle with speech. I literally have been glued to a computer for 3 days. And he was doing the work. Like, he was doing some reading and he was doing different things. And then this year he started in a third grade class, and he was taking spelling test, and the teacher would say, he's doing okay with this testing. And I would say, like, I don't care what he gets. I just want to know, is he learning, right? It doesn't really matter what the score is, because he might never pass. But is he learning? That's what we want to know. And I get this text today from his third grade teacher, and I'm going to read it to you. I have it up on the iPad. She said, I forgot to text you earlier. It's been a crazy day. I wanted to tell you that today Amos was tested on DIBELS, sight word reading, nonsense words, reading fluency, and made a passing benchmark score, meaning he has met a third grade indicator. So he will be officially promoted to the fourth grade. He passed a test. I had 3 children before Amos, and for years, they took tests, and it never occurred to me that they wouldn't pass, right? Like, did they get the best? Did they get a 5? Are they 3 years ahead? That's what I expected. And now I have this person, and I've thought, he might not pass, and it's okay. And he passed. And I think I like this version of myself so much better now, because I think I've learned to apply this philosophy to my other children. And like, you might not be doing well in school, or you might not this, or you might not that, but what is important? What's important is that you're happy, and that you're kind, and that you're content, and that you're confident, and that you are the best version of yourself that you can be. And that can look very differently depending on who you are. And for some people, that might be somebody being a doctor. And for other people, it might be putting grocery carts away. And there's no finish line that's better. At the end of our lives, we're all sitting in, probably I'll be in an old folks home, not my daughter's house, but we're sitting, in a chair, and somebody's brought us some hot tea. And what does our day look like? Do we have people coming to see us? Are people happy? Do they remember that we've made an impression on them? It doesn't matter if you got a PhD, or if you invented Microsoft. Like, at the end of the day, at the end of your life, we're all right back there together. And I don't want to waste my whole life like going for the route of success, like it's going to get me to heaven or something. And it's not. And I grew up and was raised, you get an education and you're successful, and that's what you do. And I think that is fine, but I think I would add to it that success can look very different. And that might be odd considering what we're talking about, because here Amos has passed this test. And I said to his teacher, I'm speechless. And she said, I know. I was so proud of him. Not only did he pass, but he made 14 points higher than necessary to pass, And I said to him, then I said to him, I was telling my husband in front of him, I was like, you know, Daddy Amos has something to tell you, and we need to do all this stuff. And so we were telling him like how great he had done. And he said, that means the test is completed. I was like, oh, that means he don't think he have any more tests. I'll have to work on that tomorrow. Anyway, and I have a subscriber group, and this is the kind of stuff we talk about, you know. We also just shoot, you know what, and drink coffee, but, and laugh a lot with Nurse Gina. My nurse is coming next week. But that was important. Today was a big day, and it wasn't just like, I remember Amos didn't smile, and I was so nervous, and at 6 weeks, he smiled. And when he smiled, I felt this like, such a feeling of relief, like everything's going to be fine now. And it wasn't. And then later he like said a word, and I was like, everything's fine. He's going to be fine. And I don't know at what point that I stopped. I don't know at what point I stopped doing that I realized this is not going to end. This is the path I'm on. You know, I and our family is on. And it's not a bad path. It's certainly a different one, but it's not a bad path. It's just where we are. And if I had gotten a message that he didn't pass that test, you know, I don't know. I can't tell you if I would have cried or if I would have been like, well, oh, well, you know, and maybe a little of both. Did you share the news with your sons? No, I did not yet. I spoke to one son, my middle son, at length today, but I didn't know then. But I need to. Maybe I'll tell him in person next week. Do you think Amos will be able to live independently when he's older? No, I do not think he will live independently. I don't know if he'll pass a math test ever. I don't know if this will be the only reading test he ever passes. I don't know if he'll go to middle school and do great. Hell, at this point, what if he graduates? If he graduates, I have a big party. He doesn't like parties, though. If he graduates from high school, I'm taking him to Seychelles or wherever in the devil it is. And I'm sure it's real expensive, so I'm going to do a GoFundMe. And then I'll get lambasted for being tacky. It's not tacky. I mean, you want me to take him all the way there? Amos and I in Seychelles, I mean, I can't go there and stay in a motel. I'm sure there's a Four Seasons or something. I have to have good drinks if I'm going to chase him around. And then he'll be at a nice hotel. We don't always fit in at nice hotels. We're sort of about at the Motel 6. You saw my doctor at a seminar at NC State today? Oh, he can get a certificate of completion. Well, yeah, I know he can get that. But, you know, at some point, my friend Kate Swinson, her page is Finding Cooper's Voice, and we're good friends. And she and I and another woman who I really enjoy, Carrie Carollo, are writing a book together. But Kate was like, you know, at some point, I would love just to travel with Cooper. And I was like, the truth? You sound like Kathy Bates. What? I do not. Are you talking about Kathy Bates that, like, broke that writer's legs in that movie Misery? Oh, that's good. That movie, you think you like it. It's very similar to the movie The Good Son. You think, oh, you know, I like this movie. And then I start watching it, and I'm like, oh no. It's horrible. And I thought it's The Green Mile is another one. It's good, but boy, you need to take out some parts. Ugh, it's torturous. Well, no, I like fried green tomatoes. I like when they eat up those ribs. I've been watching, or I keep the television on when I write because it makes me, I don't know, It just is something to have on. And so I turn on old movies, though, so I don't have to pay attention, because if I'm paying attention, then I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So I put on movies that I've seen before. She didn't burn his legs. Well, she didn't burn them, but she broke them. She whacked him with the sledgehammer. I tell you what, if I even like hit my knee like on the door, I feel like I should go to the hospital. I mean, I bumped my knee on the steering wheel today, and I was like, I wonder if I broke it. I mean, there's no football for me. You want life skills. Yeah, I get it. Amos and money is a funny thing. So we recently worked with money a little bit. We were at the track meet, and we were at the concession stand, and he went and stood in front of the concession stand and was like, I want, I don't know if he said something about a candy bar, but they didn't give him one because he didn't have any money. So he came over to me, and I said, are you thirsty? Do you want a water? Yes. I said, well, here's some money. So you're going to go over there and give them this money, and they're going to give you a candy bar. One of your eyes is wandering. Jan, is one of my eyes twitching from comments like that? I'm thinking of you as a voodoo doll face. There could be advances in treatment for autism. You know, Amos is who he is, and autism is not a problem for Amos. I mean, autism doesn't exactly, it just makes life interesting. It's anxiety and ADHD that are the problems. Now, if you could get rid of those suckers, we would be in good shape. The autism is just sort of humorous. Yesterday, we dropped off my daughter at school. You watched the Johnny Depp trial over. I never saw that. We dropped off my daughter at school. Or no, we dropped off Amos at school. My daughter was with me, and she said, bye, Smelly, because my oldest son calls her Smelly, so now she says she calls Amos Smelly. And he said, don't call me Smelly. When I was real worried he was going to use the F word, because he has a tendency to do that. And he said, you twerp. And she said, what's a twerp? I was like, a twerp is like a pesky gnat of a person. I haven't heard the word twerp. It sounds like twerk, but it's twerp. I haven't heard that in a long time. Being a special needs teacher, what is the life skill you think is the most important? Well, that's a good question. You know, I guess it depends where you are. For me right now, a life skill that would be important would be to be able to stay home alone safely. And you don't think of that being a skill. You just think of most people getting to that age and it's done. But that would be that would help me a lot. You know, if I could run somewhere for 5 minutes, because I have a, closer to 10 and a half-year-old, and I can't run to the post office, and most people by this point, especially if you have, anyway, that part of your life is kind of over. So it's like you're sort of on a hamster wheel of toddlerhood. Self-care. Yeah, the self-care is not as important to me, but it might be for other people. I can brush Amos's teeth. Like, there's some things that I can do. I was thrilled he was potty trained. That was a big one. Oh, we could just go into all sorts of comments. We could. Did Amos give the money to get the candy bar? Oh, I didn't finish it. So yes, he got his water. He came back. Well, after he'd been at the concession stand a few times, I didn't have any more ones. So I had a 5. And I said, you're going to take this money and you're going to get whatever it was at that point, your hot dog. I think it was a hot dog. And then you're going to bring mommy money back. So take the money, get the hot dog, and bring me the money back. I really don't even understand if Amos understands money, to be honest. And he goes over there clutching this $5 bill, and he comes back, and he's got the hot dog in one hand and the change in the other one. You know, and that was, he might as well, it almost would be like doing it with an 18-month-old, you know, like, here, you know, give this to daddy, then you bring it back. You know, all those regular things that happen with typical development haven't happened with us. So now they're happening now, you know. You can leave your son for 4 hours. Well, that's big. You know, I enjoy Amos, and I like having him around. And when if he and I could go do things together, like last week where'd we go? Oh, we had to run an errand, and we took my older sons back to school, and I think I was telling the subscribers this. We went to Walmart, and then we went to Jersey Mike's. There's a new Jersey Mike's nearby, and I was standing in line, and all of a sudden he was gone, and I was like, crap, is he gone behind the counter? Which he hasn't done in a while, but, you know, I thought, oh. And the man in front of me was like, no, and he had gone and sat down at a table. And I was like, you know, if we could go places and he could sit at a table, like, this is life-changing. Like, and my friend Kate Swenson says that, like, they're still not great at waiting in lines, you know? And that's a big deal. That's a big deal. That he could sit and wait, no sound. Now let's see if the sound is back. Is it back? If there's no sound, it's official that Facebook is trying to like shut me down, you know? Your son just learned to ride a 2-wheel bike. That's exciting. That's awesome. I was thinking about, he wants to ride one. Is there really no sound? Oh, other people hear fine. Okay, well, y'all are out of luck. You can just go out and come back in. What was I saying? Now I forget it. Anyway, I enjoy being with him, especially if we for so long have done things that he wants to do, but I'm trying to get him used to doing things that I need to do too. Where is the potty training video? So I have a subscriber group, Dana, and I encourage people to join it. And I have recently been going through kind of some old videos, and I had videos we did potty training camp at Emory in 2017. And so I don't know if they're really that useful videos, but they're funny because we lived in a bathroom for a week. Potty training was big for me. I really wanted somebody potty trained. Just because how can you be in like a typical classroom if you have poo in your pants? You know, or go to camp. Amos is going to camp this summer, or we're attempting to go to camp. He wants to go, so that I count that as a success. And it's his older brother is going to be a counselor there. And we'll see. Maybe he'll go one night. Maybe he'll go 10 minutes. Maybe he'll go 2 days. I have no idea. Yes, Mary still helps me. Yes, Mary is Amos's caregiver, and we depend on her greatly while I work, or the next few weeks are very busy. My oldest son is graduating from high school, waiting for a smoking video. I have a real good video of me in a baby pool. I'm going to put that up tomorrow. My oldest son is graduating, and we are not taking Amos to the graduation. And that that is hard, and that is a decision that we have made, and that, anyway, sometimes you have to make hard choices, and sometimes you don't like how they turn out. And that's just how life is. Like, you think like you always want to pick the best, but it's just not like that. So anyway, we will miss him, but it's important for the rest of us to be there. And I want to give my 100% attention to my oldest son. And then we've kind of worked it out where he's going to bring a bunch of friends back to our house and spend the night. And I'm going to get a cake, and we're going to have kind of a graduation party then, because Amos really likes to go places, but he does not sit quietly for the period of time. So anyway, just a decision that I've made. Yes, Mary will stay with Amos then. Yes. Remember when he used to say, just say it, Mommy? Well, he still says things like that now. Now I'll say, I don't like that. And he'll say, don't say I don't like that. That is not a nice word. I mean, basically he says you're not being nice if you tell him no. Or that he can't have ice cream. So now he's hit this new stage where he's kind of sneaky, or he's trying to be sneaky, but he's not very good at it. And so he'll say things like, are you hot? Are you sweating? I'm so hot. I was like, you're hot? Huh. Well, why don't you get some ice water? Do you need ice cream? Yeah, don't say no, say yes. He doesn't say that as much now. Oh. He's funny. Okay, I gotta go to bed. I gotta get back up in the morning and hit this chapter. Do people with autism always have anxiety? Well, it's funny you asked me that, because I just finished that chapter today. My edits on it. Autism and anxiety are first cousins. And I have yet to meet anybody that has autism that doesn't have anxiety. So who knows if autism kind of encompasses some, like if you remember Rain Man, right? Like the movie that framed what everybody thinks of autism. And Ray recently was on television, and I watched just a minute of it. I can't really watch things like that. It's too close. And, but anyway, the brother was at the airport, and the last time I watched that movie, I don't even think I had children. So it wasn't my story at all. And, he's like, okay, we're going to go to the airport. And the brother knows all about airplanes and all this kind of stuff. And we're going to go to California. And he's like, oh, can't fly Delta. Delta crashed in 1982. And then he says, well, let's fly American. He's like, no, they crashed in 76. Well, finally, he's like, Ray, we've got to get on the plane. And he gets a hold of him. And the brother is fully melts down, like yells and self-harms, which is, we have that happen too. And he's like, oh, okay, we're not doing that. That's anxiety, right? Like, why do you feel nervous over the stuff? So that's anxiety. And I think movies like that would make you think, well, that was autism. But no, it's not. Autism and ADHD overlap in the way that when Amos's anxiety kind of got lowered, his energy level went up. And I think it was before he was anxious. And so he would melt down, and then he was too worn out to be wild, where once his anxiety gets lowered, he's like a whirling dervish. Has been my experience. But again, I'm just one person with one little person. So it's not everybody's story, just our story. Carry on, subscribers. Hasta luego. See you tomorrow. And anyway, thanks for tuning in and for cheering us along.